Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good. So, good number of participants to start off with. That's nice to see. And good evening, everyone. Uh, to Before we get into the topic, I would give you my brief introduction, and I would like to hear from you also. What have you learned? Because the GST sessions, I was supposed to take few sessions in the past, but I couldn't. So I will start from these topics, starting from exemptions, registrations, and other things. Hope you have understood the previous topics because your previous understanding of the topic will be very relevant, even though these topics are not connected. But there is kind of some reference we will draw to the other topics. So I hope you have gone through the previous sessions and previous classes. If not, kindly go through them so that it will be very helpful. You will have find the recording of those classes, so kindly go through them after our session. To give you an introduction, I am Deepak Jain. I am a chartered accountant and company secretary. I used to practice as a chartered accountant, then I surrendered it, and now I am practicing as a company secretary. I operate from a city called as Bangalore. I've been into practice since 2009. So I qualified in November 2008, the CA qualification November 2008. And since then, I've been practicing as a chartered accountant, then as a company secretary, and I've completed my law as well. So hopefully one day I will do the law practice also. In terms of GST, pre-GST, my interest started in service tax. I was doing a lot of work in service tax in terms of service tax refunds, service tax uh, litigation, appearance before the officers, filing appeals. And after that, when the GST came in, there was a requirement by the CA Institute to become affiliated as a faculty member, not the faculty for CA students, faculty for the CA members. So there I was accredited as a GST faculty, and my name is there in the GST faculty list from Bangalore. And that's how I started my journey with GST. Then I've been doing a lot of work in GST for the clients, doing a lot of presentations and a lot of study talks at various forums, and also been presenting to the various student groups like the Sikasa groups as well. So that is the brief background. Uh, and I've been teaching CA students from the COVID period itself, from 2020, 2021 onwards. I've been teaching the Board of Studies in this live virtual classes. We had two classes per year. Now probably we'll have three classes per year because the number of attempts have been increased. Number of times you can write your exams has been increased. So the approach what I follow in my studies is that what I teach you is that they're more kind of oriented towards the concepts, right? My objective is not just to brush through or rush through or just go through the study material. I will prepare a material, or the presentations what I've given you, I'll share it with you, will be customized, right? If you take your study material, it'll be a little different, but the source is definitely the study material itself. But if you go through my material, it will be helpful for you because various concepts which are scattered at some places, I've tried to assemble it. Like typical case of this exemptions, you'll find that it is spread across various places there, but I've tried to assemble it at one place and give you the exemptions category wise. It is handwritten notes. I've just shared it with you in the presentation, but at the end of this exemption chapter, I will try to improvise it so that it becomes easy for you to read it. So our classes also will be based on concepts and the basics of the thing, why this exemption is there, we will understand so that we can remember it, because I believe taxation is a good scoring subject. If you concentrate on this can definitely boost the marks of your other subjects, and there is a potential definitely to gain marks of 60 plus marks in this topic. So I will ensure that you move work towards it. And we will make the sessions interactive so that your life, because sitting 2.5 hours in front of a computer could be tiring. So how to make it interesting is let's not make it as a monologue. Generally, I've seen that inter students don't open up, but I encourage you that any questions you have, instead of typing on the chat box, if you could raise your hand, I will unmute you. And if you could ask the questions, that will be very helpful, because the chat option also is not that great in Zoom. I'll have to keep multiple times switching it. So anytime any queries, kindly raise your hands and ask the question, because what happens is there's a two-way communication there. Your questions are immediately answered and I can understand it. Instead of writing it, if you ask it, that is much better. That's how I encourage everyone to kindly raise your questions so that we can answer it. And wherever possible, at the end of the chapter, I will give you a few questions or few MCQs so that our concepts can get stronger. Okay. So I was asking you, yes, good evening, so many people, amazing, awesome crowd I can see. So any one or two people can volunteer and tell me what have you understood till now, till before exemptions, whatever chapters have been completed. What was your understanding of them? Did you understand the concepts clearly, or what did you understand? What did you learn till now? Yes, Krishna Chavan.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So in GST till now we have understood that first we saw which goods are included in GST, how it was, and how they charged to GST, and in which state the goods and services when supplied should be taxed. So that's a summary of what we have done till now.
Okay, good. Okay, I've understood basics of GST. I understood supply. GST is a destination based tax. There are multiple stages to go through before calculating tax. Very nice. Supply chapter, place of supply. Okay, good. So if this understanding till now is clear, then our other understanding also will be very easy. Yes, place of supply and completed place of supply. Yes, wonderful. So this will help us to understand, because the uh, you would have heard in the news or yesterday night, a lot of things happened in the GST Council. Today in the news, everything is flooded. So what will happen is this topic, it is lucky, you should be lucky that you should read this exemption chapter at the earliest and complete this. The reason being the amendments, what is being proposed in the GST Council, they're bringing a lot of exemptions, they're reducing the rates. All of that will be applicable from a date, say they're saying from the September end. So that will be applicable for the next attempt. Luckily, not for you, right? So for the students who will on the 22nd September, exactly, Anubhav. So whatever changes will come in, it will be only in the news. It will not be applicable for your January exams. So any changes which is happening 6 months prior to your exams is not applicable. Anything prior to that, within 6 months, will not be applicable to you. So many changes are going to come. So please consider this as an opportunity, that you know that many changes are going to come. So if you clear your paper before that, that will be really helpful, so that you don't have to read it. May 2026, I think that will be applicable, because 6 months prior to May will be November. So all these amendments, if they come in September, then you have to undergo these changes. It has got easier, that's right. But the changes from a tax payer's perspective, it has gone easier. From but a tax student perspective, you will have to understand what is the rate. Okay, rate will not be there for your exams, but exemptions will be there. Lot of exemptions in services is brought in. So we are of May. Now this batch is for both Harsh, both for September 25 and not September 25, it should be Jan 26 and May 26, both. Okay, it is for both of them. Yes. So those changes will be applicable to May 2026. So even though it becomes easier, but if the number of exemptions increase, you will have to have lot of studying on the exemptions. Now the exemptions is this much. Once the list comes in, then it will grow up this much. So you will have to read extra on the exemptions. Okay. So let's start with the chapter. Let's start with the chapter of exemptions. So you know what is GST? What is the GST rate? I've tried to make my presentation in a colorful manner so that makes it lively to read. When a supply falls under charging section, such supply is chargeable to GST, right? We know we have understood the concept of supply. So whenever any transactions falls under the supply, then it is falling under the charging section. The charging section under GST is supply. Once a supply is triggered, then it is chargeable. But then we have to go step by step to decide whether on any kind of a transaction will we pay GST or no. अगर supply हो गया तो GST pay करना है. Is it sacrosanct like that? No. Once it is supply, then we have to filter out whether it is taxable or no through these steps. First is it is chargeable, but these five petroleum products and alcoholic liquor, six products, one alcoholic liquor for human consumption and five petroleum products are not liable to GST because under the definition of supply itself, they are excluded. Then you check if the goods or services are exempted from tax, right? Before getting into that, we will have to see the definition of goods and services itself, right? Definition of goods and services excludes few things. What it excludes transactions in money and it excludes securities. So that is not taxable. Then these five petroleum products and alcoholic liquor for human consumption also not taxable hai. Then you see the exemption. So you have exemption for goods separately, exemption for services separately. If it is exempted, if it is falling under exemption list, then also there is no taxable. It is not taxable. So क्या करना पड़ेगा हमको stage by stage जाना पड़ेगा. First, you will see it is supply. Is it a supply? Yes, taxable. It is not supply, no tax. जैसे in the definition of supply, you do not have any transaction which the government does, right? Sovereign function is excluded under the definition of supply. तो उसको हटा देंगे. Then now other transactions are under supply. Then we will go and see whether they are falling under these exclusions from the supply itself, which are excluded from the definition of supply, five petroleum products and alcoholic liquor for human consumption. उसमें भी taxable नहीं है. Then we will do one more filtering. There is something called as schedule. What is that schedule? Which is that schedule which says that on these transactions there is no GST? Schedule 2. No, Krishna, you're wrong. Yes, Jaya is correct. Anubhav is correct. Navneet is correct. Kabyajit, right? Yes, everyone is given a correct answer now. It is 7.3, Schedule 3, correct. 7.3, Schedule 3. So Schedule 3, you will have to see that if there are any transactions sitting in 7.3, in Schedule 3, then that is also उसको भी हम हटा देंगे. सो फिल्टरिंग कर रहे हैं हम. फर्स्ट सप्लाई देख रहे हैं. सप्लाई में गुड्स और सर्विसेज के डेफिनेशन में ट्रांजैक्शंस इन मनी एंड transactions in securities हटा रहे हैं. Then we are coming to five petroleum products and alcoholic, उसको भी हटा देंगे. Then schedule 3 जाएंगे, उसको भी हटा देंगे. तो फिर जो बचेगा from the balance, whatever is remaining, from that also we will remove whatever is exempted. Now what are the things which are exempted? How do we know कि exemption किस पे है? Exemption हमको पता चलेगा through a exemption notification. ठीक है. So what is that exemption notification? We'll just see that. Before that, let us understand what is a exempt supply. In the GST law, they have defined what is an exempt supply. Exempt supply means supply of any goods or services or both which attracts nil rate of tax or which is wholly exempt from tax, and it also includes non-taxable supply. Exempt supply, so should be very simple definition, right? It should just say any supply which is exempted through a notification is exempt supply. But no, they have to include some other transactions under exempt supply. That's the reason they have expanded the definition. They've said that supply of any goods or services or both which attracts nil rate of tax or which is wholly exempt from tax. So what is this difference between nil rate of tax and wholly exempt from tax? GST में what is happening is all of this is driven through a notification, correct? Whatever is the GST rate is defined through a rate notification, which is notification for goods is notification number 1/2017, and notification for services, the rate for services is given through notification number 11 of 2017. तो ये रेट नोटिफिकेशंस है, इसमें आप जाके ढूंढोगे आपके सर्विसेज को इन नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 11 एंड गुड्स के लिए आप नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 1 में ढूंढोगे तो यू विल गेट टू नो द व्हाट इज द जीएसटी रेट. नाउ इन दैट जीएसटी रेट नोटिफिकेशन दे विल मेंशन 5%, 12%, 18%, 28% wages rates, and they will also mention some product and they'll mention the rate is zero. मतलब क्या हो गया कि उसे कहेंगे हम नील रेट ऑफ टैक्स. जाओ जो जीएसटी रेट नोटिफिकेशन तो आ रहा है लेकिन रेट इज नील, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अ सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विसेज विच इज अट्रैक्टिंग नील रेट ऑफ टैक्स. मतलब उसका रेट क्या है, नील है. ओके, विच अट्रैक्ट्स नील रेट ऑफ टैक्स और विच इज होली एग्जेम्प्ट. तो एग्जेम्पशन दो तरीके से हो सकते हैं कि आपके जो रेट है, जीएसटी का रेट है, उसमें नील बता दिया गया है या फिर जीरो बता दिया गया है. दैट इज फर्स्ट टाइप ऑफ एग्जेम्प्टेड गुड्स और सर्विसेज. सेकेंड टाइप इज through a special notification, which will be called as exemption notification. They've said that the following goods will be exempted for goods, and they've said for services, the following services will be exempted. That is called as exempt supply. And it also includes non-taxable supply. Non-taxable तो जीएसटी के बाहर ही है, right? What are those non-taxable supplies? Schedule 3 items. They are non-taxable, right? So non-taxable supply would mean those supplies which are not taxable at all, उसे भी exempted के अंदर include कर दिया गया है. The reason is because they want to claim that आप जो भी input tax claim कर रहे हो, right? You will understand that better in the ITC chapter, but just to give an understanding here, any input tax credit what we are claiming, we should use it for a outward supply. If you are not using it for a taxable supply, तो फिर हमको input tax credit नहीं मिलेगा, right? Government is giving you ITC credit with a hope that you will pay GST on the supply. लेकिन आप supply पे tax नहीं pay करोगे तो when you will not pay tax when it is an exempt supply. जब हम exempt supply करेंगे तो हमको input tax credit नहीं मिलना चाहिए, इसीलिए exempt supply के अंदर they have included non-taxable supply also. Okay, so there's a good question asked by Shamli that, sir, is zero rated and exempt supply same? No, zero rated supply and exempt supply is not the same. In zero rated supply, we will not pay GST because it is actually the name itself says zero rated supply. तो आपको GST नहीं pay करना है. Even in exempt supply, you don't pay GST because it is exempted. But the difference is, as I had said now, in exempt supply, whatever purchases you make, right? Suppose you have bought a paper. Paper के ऊपर 5% GST rate लगता है. You have drawn a map on it and sold it as a map. Now, say maps are exempted. तो map आप जब बेचोगे तब GST zero हो जाएगा because it is exempted. But the paper what you purchased, on that what you paid GST, can you claim it? You cannot claim it. क्योंकि this is a purchase and you have made an exempt supply, तो आपको उसका input tax credit reverse करना पड़ेगा. That is exempt supply. But for a zero rated supply, you bought something and you're making a zero rated supply, फिर भी आप input tax credit claim कर सकते हो. Okay, you can claim the input tax credit for a zero rated supply, but for an exempt supply, you cannot claim the corresponding input tax credit. Krishna, your question is also answered. Right. So till now, Are you clear? Are you with me? That what is the relevance of that exempt supply? Right? Any questions here? Can you elaborate more on zero rated supply? You understood exempt supply, right? Exempt supply means which is exempted and called an exempt supply through the definition that anything which is exempted will be an exempt supply. Now, what is zero rated supply is specifically there are two types of supplies which are called as zero rated supplies. One is when you make any exports, which could be export of goods or export of services. Exports are zero rated supply. Why? Because the country wants, India as a country wants more and more exports because a lot of foreign currency will come in. So, exports is one type of zero rated supply. Second type of zero rated supply is all the supplies what we make to a SEZ unit, a special economic zone unit, whatever we supply to them from a from any place when we supply to a special economic zone units, they are treated as zero rated supply. So these two transactions are treated as zero rated supply. So whenever you make any exports and you have purchased anything, right? तो उसका आपको इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मिलेगा, आपको रिवर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं. Okay? So that is zero rated supply. Exempt supply जो सर्विसेज स्पेसिफिकली एग्जेम्पशन में लिखे गए हैं उसे एग्जेम्प्टेड कह देंगे बिकॉज वो एग्जेम्पशन नोटिफिकेशन के अंदर है. और हम एग्जेम्पशन में वही पढ़ेंगे कि नोटिफिकेशन. नाउ देयर आर टू नोटिफिकेशंस एज आई सेड. वन इज नोटिफिकेशन फॉर एग्जेम्पशन ऑफ गुड्स. गुड्स के एग्जेम्पशन के लिए एक अलग नोटिफिकेशन है और सर्विसेज के एग्जेम्पशन के लिए एक अलग नोटिफिकेशन है. तो आप दोनों पढ़ना चाहेंगे. व्हाट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड फॉर गुड्स एंड व्हाट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड फॉर सर्विसेज? No, no, no. On zero rated, we will not be discussing anything further. So should we read exemption for goods and exemption for services also? Arun Sagar, ITC cannot claim means we have paid tax to the government, but we have not paid tax to the government directly. The supplier has paid it, right? So supplier has paid it. You will consider exemption from your supply because you do not have control on your supplier. You have control on your supply, right? So whenever you are supplying, you will not charge GST. That's why it's called a exempt supply. Yes, tax is being collected by the supplier, but the credit of that you will not get it, right? That's why it will become a exempt supply. You will not get the credit of it, and when you supply, you will not charge. That's why it's a exempt supply. Okay, good that you are prepared for both, but feel lucky that you do not have to read the notification which is exempt for goods. It is not covered in your syllabus because exemption for goods will become so very voluminous that you will keep kind of remembering those goods list. So there CA Institute has said that we will not burden our students much. So exempted for goods is out of your syllabus. We will only read the exemption for services. Okay, great relief for you. Don't have to read exemption for goods. You just have to read the exemption for services. Now, exemption, that services exemption, how does it there? It is there in various modes or various ways how they can give you the exemption. Services exemption could be in terms of a specified activity or a specified transaction, right? It can say that the exemption is for this activity, like uh, education services. So a school providing educational services is exempted. Or they can say specified suppliers. So when certain suppliers supply something, it will be exempted. Or they can say when specified recipients are there, it will be exempted. Or when specified suppliers and specified recipients are there, combination of both, then it will be exempted. So these are the ways through which they can say that exemption is available. Now, I will take you through the study material so that you will understand this in a better manner. Even though we don't have to refer to the study material all the time, but to draw reference, because in my previous sessions, what I could see is students used to ask, where is this there in the study material and these things. So wherever important topics like this has to be referred, we will refer to the study material. Yeah. Study material, page number 3. Okay. Okay. It is important to note that exemption can be provided in any of the following manners. First is exemption to specified activities or transactions, where exemption is provided in respect of specified activities or transactions. Okay, on the transaction, so exemption is provided. So the status of the supplier or the status of the recipient is not material. ठीक है, तो एग्जेम्पशन जब स्पेसिफाइड एक्टिविटीज में देंगे तब आपको स्पेसिफाइड एक्टिविटीज पे कंसंट्रेट करना है, सप्लायर या रिसिपिएंट के ऊपर आपको कंसंट्रेट नहीं करना है. ओके, सो व्हेन विल दैट हैपन? एग्जांपल्स आर व्हेन देयर इज सर्विसेज बाय वे ऑफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ गोइंग कंसर्न एज अ होल. जब आप देखेंगे एग्जेम्पशन में, when you do a transfer of a going concern, what is a going concern? जब बिजनेस चल रहा है आप उसे बेच दोगे, राइट? सो दैट्स द ट्रांजैक्शन और एक्टिविटी विच यू आर डूइंग, राइट? यहाँ पे नाइदर सप्लायर कौन है ये जरूरत है, ना तो रिसिपिएंट कौन है इसकी जरूरत है. सो व्हेन यू आर डूइंग दिस एक्टिविटी ऑफ ट्रांसफरिंग योर बिजनेस, then it is exempted. Okay, then services by way of loading, unloading, packaging, storing or warehousing of rice. So this is activity कि जो भी बंदा है अगर लोडिंग अनलोडिंग कर रहा है, स्टोरेज ऑफ वेयरहाउसिंग ऑफ राइस कर रहा है, तब भी exempted है. Okay, so these two are the examples of exemptions which are provided through specified activities. So they'll just specify in the exemption notification that these are the activities. If you are doing this activity, it will be exempted. Okay. Second is exemption to specified suppliers, wherein it is applicable only when the specified supplier provides these services. ठीक है, जैसे एग्जाम्पल, और यहाँ पर भी activity is immaterial and neither the recipient is material because it will say that any exemption to specified suppliers. जैसे services supplied by the central government, state government or union territory where the consideration does not exceed 5,000. So आप exemption में एक exemption ये भी आता है कि when the government, which government, either it could be central government, state government, union territory or local authority. If any of these authorities are providing any service for which they're getting consideration which is below 5,000 rupees, okay, then it is exempted. So what is the main activity here? That who is providing the service, who is receiving doesn't matter, because the exemption line, exemption heading says that services provided by the central government is exempted if the value is less than 5,000 rupees. Okay, then services by an entity registered under 12AA or 12AB of the Income Tax Act by way of charitable activities. So here also the activity is one part and but provided by whom is another part. So whenever an entity which is registered under 12AA or AB, Income Tax Act में exemption मिलता है that you do not have to pay income tax if you are registered entity registered under 12AA or 12AB. Matlab, it should be a charitable activity. People who are practicing or doing your internship in a CA firm and you're handling any charitable activities, you would have applied for an exemption under 12AA or AB, right? Such entities are also exempted under GST if they are registered under, if they are getting their registration under 12AA or AB. Third kind of exemption is exemption to specified recipient. So first is on the activity, second is based on the supplier, third is on based on specified recipients. Examples: services provided to, services provided by जब जगह आता है, then it is supplier. When it is service supplied to, it means you have to see the nature of the recipient. So there is another exemption which says services provided to the central government, state government under any insurance scheme for which total premium is paid by the central government, state government, or union territory. Which means when a receiver is the central government or a state government or a union territory, and if they are receiving the service of insurance scheme, then they do not have to pay GST. Okay. Fourth category of exemption is exemption to specified suppliers and specified recipients. Second was only specified supplier. Third was only specified receiver. But fourth is a combination of both, that it should be a combination of specified supplier and specified receiver, which means example services by a ESI, Employee State Insurance Corporations, to persons governed under ESI, which means what? If a Employee State Insurance Corporation, ESI, is providing to its member, to a person who is registered under ESI, which means they are member of the ESI, only that service is exempted. Which means if ESI is providing services to any person who is not governed by the ESI, then it will be taxable. So if both these conditions are satisfied, then it will be exempted. Then services by National Pension Scheme to its members. So when any NPS provides services to its members, then it is exempted. If NPS provides services to non-members, then it will be taxable. Okay, so there are four buckets or four categories of exemption which we can see here. Clear? Yes, Anubhav Malik, you're all stuck still with the same question. Good, you're raising that now. Sir, exempt supply means the tax paid on inputs will not be allowed as a credit during output, and therefore ITC claim is to be reversed. Perfect, you're right. ESI means Employee State Insurance. ठीक है, जब आपकी सैलरी 21,000 के नीचे होती है, तब आपके एम्प्लॉयर को आपके नाम पे एम्प्लॉय स्टेट इंश्योरेंस को प्रीमियम पे करना पड़ेगा, ताकि एम्प्लॉय को अगर कुछ हो जाए तो फिर ईएसआई वाले आपका हॉस्पिटल का एक्सपेंसेस देखेंगे. उसे कहते हैं एम्प्लॉय स्टेट इंश्योरेंस. Railways charge GST. Yes, railways will charge GST. Railway is not government. Don't get confused with the central government, state government thing. Railway is a separate entity. It is not a government. Government का शेयर होल्डिंग हो सकता है, but it is not a government itself. Now let's get back to our presentation. Okay, so we understood what is an exempt supply and what are the four categories of exemption which is possible. Now we'll get into the types of exemption, just to understand कि what does section 11 says. जैसे supply section 7 में है, right? वैसे ही exemption is covered under section 11. 11 क्या बोलता है आपको? Very nicely it says that the central government or state government, based on the recommendation of the council. आपने introductory chapters में पढ़ा होगा कि what is the power of the GST council, क्या कर सकता है, right? So central government or state government, based on the recommendation of the council, can give exemption on taxable goods or services of any specified description. They can exempt certain goods or services if they are satisfied that it is necessary in the public interest to exempt. How will they exempt? By a notification, they can give an exemption. नाउ दैट एग्जेम्पशन कैन बी एब्सोल्यूट और सब्जेक्ट टू कंडीशंस. ये क्या होता है एब्सोल्यूट एंड कंडीशनल? दैट व्हेन यू गिव सम एग्जेम्पशन यू कैन से दैट इट इज एब्सोल्यूट विदाउट एनी कंडीशन यू आर गेटिंग द एग्जेम्पशन, राइट? जैसे हमने एग्जांपल्स देखा था, राइट? सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड टू सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड, नो कंडीशंस अटैच्ड. There can be other exemptions wherein they will tell, okay, it is exempted subject to certain conditions. So कुछ conditions जब देंगे then it is called as a conditional exemptions. बिना कुछ conditions के खुलेआम दे देते हैं exemptions, then it is absolute, no condition. So there can be exemption given through notification, and in that notification they can give a absolute exemption or a conditional exemption from exemption of whole tax or part of the tax. ओके, सो फर्स्ट रूट की एग्जेम्पशन गवर्नमेंट नोटिफिकेशन के थ्रू दे सकती है. सेकेंड इज द एग्जेम्पशन कैन बी गिवन थ्रू अ स्पेशल ऑर्डर, बिकॉज नोटिफिकेशन के लिए आपको टाइम लग सकता है और स्पेशल ऑर्डर के थ्रू भी आप एग्जेम्पशन दे सकते हो. बाई स्पेशल ऑर्डर एग्जेम्पशन कैन बी गिवन अंडर एक्सेप्शनल सर्कमस्टांसेस. जनरली आपको नोटिफिकेशन ही देना पड़ेगा, लेकिन आपके पास टाइम नहीं है, इमरजेंसी सिचुएशन है, तब आपको एग्जेम्पशन स्पेशल ऑर्डर के थ्रू देना पड़ेगा. ओके, सो अंडर एक्सेप्शनल सर्कमस्टांसेस बाय अ स्पेशल ऑर्डर एग्जेम्पशन इज गिवन, वेयर विच इज एक्सप्लिसिटली स्पेसिफाइड इन द ऑर्डर. मतलब क्या ऐसा सर्कमस्टेंस हो गया कि आपको नोटिफिकेशन नहीं देके ऑर्डर देना पड़ेगा, उसको आपको ऑर्डर में ही लिखना पड़ेगा. जैसे कोविड आ गया था, हमको एग्जेम्पशन देना पड़ेगा. दैट रीजन हैज टू बी मेंशन्ड इन दैट एग्जेम्पशन ऑर्डर. एंड स्पेशल ऑर्डर होगा तो फिर होल टैक्स या पार्ट टैक्स नहीं लगेगा, होल टैक्स ही लगेगा. पार्ट ऑफ द टैक्स आप एग्जेम्पशन नहीं दे सकते हो, आपको होल टैक्स पे ही, पूरे टैक्स पे ही आपको एग्जेम्पशन देना पड़ेगा. ओके, so that is the first aspect. Key exemption can be given through a notification or through a special order. And वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सेकेंड एस्पेक्ट की नोटिफिकेशन या ऑर्डर के थ्रू आपने एग्जेम्पशन तो दे दिया, बट इफ यू कंसिडर इट नेसेसरी फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ क्लैरिफाइंग द स्कोप ऑफ अप्लीकेबिलिटी ऑफ ARB विच इज एग्जेम्पशन थ्रू नोटिफिकेशन और स्पेशल ऑर्डर, जो भी आपको कुछ क्लैरिफिकेशन देना है तो आप एक और नोटिफिकेशन दे सकते हो. यू कैन गिव अनदर नोटिफिकेशन फॉर वॉट, फॉर इंसर्टिंग एन एक्सप्लेनेशन इन द नोटिफिकेशन और एन ऑर्डर when within 1 year of the notification. Suppose 1 January 2024 को एक नोटिफिकेशन दिया है that services by a university will be exempted. ओके, नाउ उसमें क्लैरिफिकेशन करना था कि ऑल यूनिवर्सिटीज और स्पेसिफिक यूनिवर्सिटीज, दे हैव जस्ट गिवन इट. लेकिन गवर्नमेंट को कुछ याद आया कि नहीं नहीं, there's a confusion, so we have to give some clarification. So they will give another notification for explaining what is that exemption. ठीक है, so generally what happens is the GST law is driven mostly by notifications. तो आपने एक नोटिफिकेशन दे दिया, उसमें कह दिया कि that this will be exempted. ठीक है, once you have given this exemption, then you can give a explanation, insert a explanation. Any insertion of explanation to that original notification should be through another notification, because पुराने notification को आप हाथ नहीं लगा सकते हो. तो आप नया notification दोगे, you will raise a new notification. In that you will mention an explanation saying that the exemption for universities are meant only for universities in India. नाउ अगर आप वो एक्सप्लेनेशन जो अलग नोटिफिकेशन के थ्रू दोगे, इफ द गवर्नमेंट इश्यूज दैट नोटिफिकेशन विद इन 1 year ऑफ द ओरिजिनल नोटिफिकेशन, देन दैट इसका इम्प्लीकेशन जो एक्सप्लेनेशन है उसका इम्प्लीकेशन विल बी दैट सच क्लैरिफिकेशन विल हैव रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट. ओके, अगर 1 साल के अंदर नोटिफिकेशन इश्यू करने के अंदर एक और क्लैरिफिकेशन रेस करते हैं, तो then that will have effect from the original date of the notification. What is retrospective and prospective? Question for you. Retro means backdated. Perfect. Yes, good, good. Retrospective means from past dated. Prospective means future dated. What about present dated? Prospective means present dated, which will apply for the future also. Retrospective means past dated. Good, good. Yes, retrospective past, prospective is present, not future. Effect of notification reversed. Yes, correct. Good. So we've understood what is retrospective and prospective. So if they give any notification within 1 year, it will be retrospective. But if any clarification is given after 1 year, then it will be prospective, which means from the date when that notification is issued, from that date, that explanation will be applicable. Okay. So that is basically on the exemption, I mean, the background of exemption. Okay. This may be relevant because it could be asked in your MCQs also. So notification for exemption, exemption can be given through a notification and an order. Any clarification, if issued within 1 year, will be retrospective. After that, if it is issued, it will be prospective. Yeah, we know this. Exemption can be absolute or conditional. Matlab, without any condition, if such an exemption is given, you have to mandatorily follow. Matlab, suppose they have said any healthcare services will be exempted. Just that they have said without any conditions, which means what? It is a absolute condition. It is a absolute exemption, not a conditional exemption. So can a hospital say that if I charge exempted, I charge my patients no GST, तो फिर मेरा ITC नहीं मिलेगा? Because we have told that on exemption आपको ITC नहीं मिलेगा, right? So if the hospital says, oh God, now zero rating करना है, not zero rating, exempt करना है मुझे मेरे पेशेंट से कलेक्ट नहीं करना है, so then my ITC will become lost. क्योंकि exemption में मैं I cannot claim the ITC, so my ITC all of that will be lost, so I will charge my patients. Can a hospital do that? Yeah, understood my question? If any services which is exempted through a absolute exemption, right? Can the person say that no, no, I will not take this benefit. I will charge my customers and so that I can claim my input tax credit. Is that doable? Krishna is saying no, no, you cannot. No, yes. Correct. So they cannot do it because it's a absolute exemption without any condition. Because if there is a condition, then he can say that no, no, I cannot fulfill this condition. Like there are some exemptions which they say that you are exempted provided you reverse your input tax credit. So it means there is a condition given there. If it is conditional, then I can say that this condition is not acceptable to me, so I will not claim it. So if it is conditional, कि कुछ conditions डाला है, then you can say you can claim this or not claim it. But if it is unconditional, then you have to mandatorily claim the exemption. You cannot charge the GST on it. Okay. So these are the things. Now let's get into actual exemptions. तो इसको मैंने क्या किया, एक चार्ट के थ्रू प्रिपेयर किया है so that we can understand. So instead of going through multiple pages in your material, one page will give you a full idea of what is a exemption. So I will be sharing this presentation so you can take a copy of it. But to understand this, this is the whole crux of the exemption of charitable activities. Various activities will have different slides, but यहाँ पे we will have at one place all the charitable activities related exemptions. So in your material you will find at various places, but I have put it in one place. Okay. So firstly, so it should be exemption which is provided to a charitable or religious activities. Whom is this applicable to? This is applicable to an entity which is registered under 12AA or 12AB of the Income Tax Act. So, exemption, anybody, now there is a NGO next to my house. They are just started 2 months back and they are providing charitable activities. जैसे कोई charity work they are doing, they are going to some schools and teaching them. Will they get this exemption? Charitable activity, no? Navneet is saying yes, they will get it. Kuldeep, my question is that I have a NGO who is teaching to some students. Okay. Will they get the exemption of this charitable or religious activities? Yes, they will get it, is what Mustafa is saying. Prerna is saying yes, they will get it. Oh, everybody is saying mostly that yes, you will get it. But Shamli is saying no, they will not get it if they are not registered under 12 EERAB. Exactly. They are not registered. They've just started 3 months and nobody asked me whether they're registered or no. So they are not registered. So if they are not registered, they will not get it because just charitable activities is not sufficient. Both the conditions has to be met. It should be a charitable or doing a religious activities and they should be registered under 12 AA or AB of the Income Tax Act. दोनों कंडीशन मिलेगा तभी आपको एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा. Correct. First, we should know that they are registered under 12 AA or AB. Perfect. Okay. So, this example I gave, they were not registered. They've just started now and the transactions are less. So, they're not registered. So, they will not get the exemption. Okay. Now, they are registered under 12 AA or AB. So, any activity, what they do, will that be exempted? No. GST Act in that notification number 12 or 2017. What we are discussing, all of this will be in the say one notification itself, which is notification number 12 of 2017. उसमें दिया गया है कि क्या क्या activities है which are treated as charitable activities. So only these specified activities are exempted. So what are the charitable activities? The charitable activities relating to public health. Okay. Public health by way of care, counseling, or charitable activities relating to public health by way of care or counseling of terminally ill or severely or physically or mentally disabled people or people who are suffering from HIV, AIDS, infected drugs, or alcoholic addicts. So only these specific category of people will be exempted. If they are doing any care or counseling of a healthy person, it will not be exempted. You should be doing care or counseling of a person who is terminally ill or severely or physically or mentally disabled or a person who is suffering from HIV, AIDS और ड्रग्स और अल्कोहलिक एडिक्ट्स मतलब नॉर्मल जो हॉस्पिटल है उसके अंदर नहीं आएंगे राइट दे गेट एग्जेम्प्टेड अंडर डिफरेंट हेडिंग बट टू गेट एग्जेम्प्टेड अंडर दिस हेड कि मैंने चैरिटेबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खोल दिया आई गॉट 12 AA एंड AB नाउ I am treating any patients generally, you will not get the exemption. You should be treating only these specified category of people. Okay. Second is you are doing a public awareness of what? Of preventive health, family planning, or prevention of HIV infection. So if you are doing any public awareness of these activities, then you will be exempted. Okay. So that is the definition of charitable activities. We are just starting with the definition of charitable activities. Charitable activities relating to public health of what? Of care or counseling or public awareness. Okay, so that will be exempted. Second is any kind of advancement of religion, spirituality, or yoga. Okay, first is public health की category. Second is the category of advancement of religion, spirituality, or yoga. Okay, this is advancement of religion, any religion, not specific of any names, any religion, any spirituality, or yoga, right? जो अपने बाबा रामदेव करते हैं जो श्री श्री रविशंकर करते हैं दे आर ऑल spiritual gurus, right? Or any religion gurus also, if they're doing any kind of advancement, then that activities will be exempted. ठीक है. बट सिर्फ ये काफी है नहीं, दिस इज बंडल्ड विथ दिस ऑल्सो, सो 12 AA AB प्लस दीज एक्टिविटीज दोनों होना जरूरी है. Then third is any advancement of educational program, skill development relating to what? Relating to abandoned, orphaned, or homeless children, or any physically or mentally abused or traumatized people, or any prisoners or persons who are more than 65 years of age residing in rural areas. सिर्फ इन लोगों के लिए आप कुछ कर रहे हो. एडवांसमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन, स्किल डेवलपमेंट, right? Lot of skill development organizations you see, they do lot of skill development, or they impart educational programs. They're providing to whom? They're providing to specifically these children, not general children के लिए करेंगे तो नहीं. They should be doing it for abandoned, orphaned, or homeless children. They should be doing to physically, mentally abused or traumatized people, or to any prisoners, or to persons above 65 years in rural area. मतलब अर्बन एरिया में आप करोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा, रूरल एरिया गांव में करोगे तभी आपको एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा. एंड द फोर्थ इज एनी काइंड ऑफ प्रिजर्वेशन ऑफ एनवायरमेंट, वाटरशेड्स, फॉरेस्ट्स और वाइल्ड लाइफ. Okay, very very big, so you will have to kind of read it again and again to remember this. Charitable activities relating to public health, दो category, advancement of religion, spirituality of yoga, advancement of educational programs, two, four category of people, and preservation of environment, watershed or forests or wildlife. If sir, a doctor do a medical camp for checkups and then he will ask for further medical help, he asked to come to his clinic, then he prescribed medicine, will fees, then it will be taxable? It will, we have to come to the healthcare exemption. Okay, so I will not confuse you here. When we come to the healthcare services, that time you will get your answer. Good observation. But what is family planning? कि the population is increasing, population को नहीं बढ़ाना है, तो फिर family planning मतलब कि आपका you don't increase the number of children, that is called as family planning. Why prisoners? Because prisoners also need a second life. कि वो जेल में तो आ गए हैं, लेकिन आप उनको भी एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स कर सकते हो, स्किल डेवलपमेंट कर सकते हो, ताकि जब वो जेल से बाहर छूटे, राइट? नॉट एवरीबडी इज बैड इन द प्रिजन, somebody are good also in the prisons. So when they come out, they should be having some skill. That's the reason they've said any advancement of skill development or educational programs for prisoners also will be exempted. Yes, any of these is to be done to get exemption. You're right. ठीक है, तो यहां तक समझ में आ गया that any charitable activities which is done for these category of people for a entity which is registered under 12 AA or AB will be exempted, right? Second category of exemption will be when this 12 AA or AB entity is running a old age home. ठीक है, जब एनी पर्सन हु इज ऑफ एज और उसके लिए आप वो ओल्ड एज होम कर रन कर रहे हो विच इज फॉर रेसिडेंट्स अबाउट 60 years. यहाँ पे 65 years है, यहाँ पे 60 years है. आपको एमसीक्यू में क्लियरली रहना चाहिए कि आपको पूछ सकते हैं यहाँ पे मोर देन 60 years exempted. You will say no, because here the limit of advancement of educational program is more than 65 years, and old age home the limit is 60 years. ठीक है, सो व्हेन यू आर डूइंग एनी ओल्ड एज होम फॉर रेसिडेंट्स, जो वहां पे ही रुकेंगे, राइट? इट्स अ ओल्ड एज होम, राइट? कि यहाँ पे ओल्ड पीपल विल स्टे and they will not go back to their homes. So that is a old age home that which is for residents above 60 years, and you are charging a consideration for their boarding, lodging and maintenance. मतलब वहीं पे खाना, वहीं पे सोना और वहीं पे उनकी देखभाल करना. For this, if that old age home is charging a consideration which is up to 25,000 per month, right, then it will be exempted. Okay, so if it is a 12 AA or AB unit, it is exempted. And if this old age homes are also run by central government and state government, then also it is exempted. Okay, this is the second exemption under charitable activities. Mustafa, your question is if they get paid from their for their services and their income from their activities are exempted. Correct. It will be exempted. Physically abled person. Under which category, Deepika? Which specific provision are you asking? Yeah, government, there is no limit, Navneet. That 25,000 limit is only for a charitable institution. Government, any value when the government is providing, it will be fully exempted. Charitable activities. See, charitable activities, Deepika, physically abled people, right? Physically abled people is only here when it is for a physically mentally abused person. That when they are doing any advancement. Otherwise, other places, it can be any other people also, not necessarily physically abled or physically disabled. Even if they're providing services of spirituality, religion, yoga to physically fit people, still it is exempted. So if old age home, which is run by central government, not registered under 12A, then also exempted? No, then it will not be because this exemption is linked to 12AA. That the old age home for a private company which is not registered under 12AA, then they will not get an exemption. If they're registered under 12AA or AB, only then they'll get exemption. Sir, why they have specifically mentioned it for the person who is greater than 65 years residing in rural areas? Because if they are providing a organization which is providing in urban areas, they don't have to because that is not a requirement for a urban crowd, right? They will anyways earn. They don't need any educational program for urban people. Or even if they are providing, they are in a position to pay the taxes also. तो उनके लिए नहीं करके for rural areas and also वहां पे to old age people. That's why they mentioned in rural area more than 65 years. Which one, Anubhav? Which means whatever they earn from such activities, all such income is exempt from GST. Which category are you talking? Running old age home. Running old age home. When they earn from such activity, yes. Provided they satisfy this condition कि 25,000 से कम ले रहे हैं and they are registered under 12 AA or AB, then it will be exempted. If a teacher go to orphanage house and he is not registered and the orphanage home is registered, right? So if the orphanage home, we are talking from the orphanage home perspective itself, when the orphanage home is doing something, so it is falling under this educational service, it is exempted. When a teacher goes there and she's getting what? She's getting salary. So salary, if you see Schedule 3, mein salary is exempted. Na? So the teacher which provides some services as an employer and employee, she is getting some salary that is also exempted. Pension. Pension is not taxable. Pension is equivalent to a salary itself. So pension is not taxable. Feeding people through community kitchen, langar is exempted. Yes, I feel so because they will be registered under 12AA and they will tell that we are doing this activity of advancement of advancement when they're providing free food, which means there's no consideration itself. So when will the exemption come? The exemption will come when there is a consideration. In case of langar, there is no consideration. So there's no question of exemption at all. अगर कुछ income आता है तब exempted होगा. No supply. Right. Yeah. So if an entity is registered under 12AA, they will get exemption under income tax subject to conditions, and GST where they will get exempted subject to these conditions. Under income tax, you have a provision, right? That those charitable activities have to deploy their funds for the purpose of why they have incorporated. So if they utilize 85% of their funds for that purpose, then they will get the exemption. So that is there under the conditions under the Income Tax Act. Then services by rehabilitational professionals. There are rehabilitation professionals. Matlab, somebody is kind of not well. He is addicted to something. So he is become a person who is needs rehabilitation. So you have rehabilitation centers. Now, in that rehabilitation centers, they appoint some rehabilitational professionals. So if this rehabilitation professionals is providing rehabilitation therapy or counseling, where if they're providing to an entity registered under 12AA, or they're providing to any medical institution or educational institutions or any rehabilitation centers established by the central government, that rehabilitation services provided by that rehabilitational professional, that is also exempted. If he's taking salary or anything, whatever it is, that will also be exempted, because rehabilitation professionals is a very tedious job. They have to be patient and they have to take care of the patients. So that's why these services by the rehabilitation professions will also be exempted. Then renting. Now these charitable organizations does renting. How wildlife environment prevention can you example? Right. Preservation of environment. So they are collecting, say, tiger preservation. So for tiger preservation, they're collecting funds, donations. Now, will that be taxable or exempted if it is a charitable organization like what is the famous wildlife thing? There is an organization which collects donations and they do preservation of forests or preservation of wildlife. So these donations, what they get, will be exempted. Okay, cool. So charitable activities, running old age home, rehabilitational professionals. Next, renting of presence. Okay, renting of presence. Matlab the there is a religious place. Now within the religious place, within the compound or just next to the compound, there are some places. Now, when you rent these precincts, जो बगल वाला area है, renting of precincts of the religious place, which is meant for general public, will be exempted, right? If it is for a general public, मतलब कोई भी आके stay कर सकता है. If the room rent is up to 999 rupees. जैसे है, अगर आप तिरुपति जाएंगे, तिरुपति में आपको rooms मिलेगा, not private rooms. अगर definitely all of this exemption is to an entity which is registered under 12AA or AB, right? If the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam Trust is giving you rooms and they are charging you rent up to 999, then it is exempted. Bahar aap rahoge, that will be taxable, right? The hotel wala, lodging wala jo charge करेंगे, that will be taxable. This is specifically to an entity which is registered under 12AA, मतलब जब मंदिर ट्रस्ट आप जाते हो उनका ही रूम्स रहता है, तब आप जब भी कुछ पे करोगे, इफ इट इज अप टू 999, इट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड. और उस जगह में आपको मंटप भी मिलेगा, मतलब जहां पे आप शादी करते हो, द हॉल, कम्युनिटी हॉल, right? If they are charging up to 9,999 per day, then it is exempted. And three things can happen, right? One is rooms दे सकते हैं, जगह दे सकते हैं, या फिर shops रहता है जब फूल माला किताबें all those चीजें मिलती है. If they rent out the shops and they're getting rental up to 999 per month, then it is exempted. So simple है ये याद करने के लिए, room rent per day 999, shop rent 9,999 per month, and Kalyana Mandapam या marriage halls up to 9,999 per day. Then if they are charging within that, it is exempted. Above this, it will be taxable. ओके okay? इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, अगर आप जाते हो एक से एक गुरुद्वारा में, गुरुद्वारा के बगल में रूम है, रूम वो चार्ज करते हैं आपको 1,500 रुपीज, तो आप तो 1500 दे दोगे, लेकिन आप उनको बोलोगे मैंने जीएसटी क्लास में पढ़ा है सर, आप 999 के ऊपर चार्ज कर रहे हो तो आपको जीएसटी कलेक्ट करना पड़ेगा। तो पूछता है कितना कलेक्ट करना पड़ेगा, सो व्हाट विल बी योर आंसर? Temple boards and trusts come under 12 double A or AB? Yes, if they have applied, then they will come under 12 double A or AB. First point of rehabilitation professionals. Services by rehabilitation professionals to an entity registered under 12AA. So there is a charitable organization who is providing rehabilitation services. Their services will be exempted. Now the professional who is providing this activity of rehabilitation through this charitable organization, his services also is exempted. Clear, Ms. Jaya? Samohik Vivaha is part of this act. Yes, why not? Samohik Vivaha is a religious activity that is also exempted. हम उसे भी देख लेंगे आगे. If they use 20% of their fund for personal activities, then they can also take exemption on that. Which one? Why 20% utilization? There's no question of utilization over here. Whatever you are collecting on that, what you do is a question. Okay, so my question I will repeat. You have gone to a Gurudwara. Gurudwara provides some rules, rooms. आपने एक रूम खरीदा, रूम का उसने 1500 रुपीज चार्ज किया, 1500 रुपए चार्ज किया है. Now, what will be the GST? Will there be any GST? Will it be exempted? Or will the GST be on full 1500 rupees? या फिर 1500 minus 999 on 501 rupees will you pay GST? Four options. Okay, good. Full amount. Okay, great. Yes, on full amount because 999 is the limit. If you have crossed 999, if you're charging 1000 rupees also, still you have to pay on 1000 rupees. So when this person is charging 1500, full 1500 पे GST pay करना पड़ेगा. Similarly for others also. So room rent up to 999 per day, premises up to 9099 per day, and शॉप्स अप टू 9999 पर मंथ, तब तक एग्जेम्प्टेड है. उसके ऊपर कुछ भी चार्ज करेंगे, सो ऑन दैट फुल वैल्यू इट विल बी टैक्सेबल. Sir, an individual rehabilitation professional providing services in an educational institution on its own account and not through an institution. So, if he's providing in an educational institution, which means he will be providing through that educational institution itself. If he's providing on his own account, it may be exempt, it may be taxable here. But when you go to healthcare services, right? If he is one of a medical practitioner, then it will be exempted. If he's not a medical practitioner, by experience is providing something, then it will be taxable. The degree what he holds is also important. He should have a degree which is recognized by the Indian Medical Council, then it will be exempted. Yes, yes, Anubhav, what is your question? Hi, Abhinav Mishra. Sir, all these exemptions are absolutely for entity registered under 12 AAB. Yes, all of this we are talking for such entities only. Wherever it is not, I will tell you that also. You're not audible, Anubhav. You're not audible. No, Anubhav, we can't hear you anything. Okay. So till here we understood, and premises renting out also we have understood, right? Now, small thing is here. Let me kind of make a distinction here. This exemption, till now we have understood this. Till here it was for a 12AA entity. Okay. Now, this exemption, which is you are seeing here, this is for a non-12AA entity, okay, which is Pandit services. A Pandit services who's providing any religious ceremony, जो marriage करता है, death ceremony करता है, any Pandit services. Pandit in normal terms, so specific religion, it could be a priest or anybody. If they are providing any religious ceremony, then they are exempted. Okay. So Pandit need not be registered under 12AA. Somebody asked me whether all of these are 12AA. Everything is, but this is for a non-12AA entity, which is a Pandit services. So any Pandit services will be exempted for any value. So priests know nowadays they are charging like anything. Okay. For a small function you call, to do their puja also they will charge 5,000 rupees. To do online puja, they will give you packages. And you can sit in US also and use these services, right? All of this is exempted. When the Pandit is directly involved, it is exempted. He will not be registered under 12AA, chalega. Okay. Hostel accommodation, it was earlier exempted up to 999, लेकिन मैंने scratch कर दिया है, which means that ये पहले था, अभी any trust which is non-12AA, they will be taxable from rupee 1. अगर 12AA है, then up to 999 exempted. Understood why I have mentioned it and scratched it? ताकि पहले था, अभी नहीं है, you will get it. Sir, why is the Gurudwara room rent not exempt as 1,500 is less than 9,900? अरे मिस श्रद्धा, रूम रेंट का लिमिट थोड़ी 9,999 है. कौन सा रूम है आपको 9,999 मिलेगा? वो तो 7 स्टार होटल है. The limit for hotel rooms is 999 rupees. Okay, can you see this? Room rent up to 999 per day. अगर कोई बंदा है who can give 10,000 rupees for a room, then he can be paying GST also. Exemption क्यों मिलेगा? So the limit is not 9,999, it is 999. यहाँ पे देखिए, यहाँ पे 3 digits है, यहाँ पे 4 digits है, यहाँ पे 4 digits है. Good, you have clarified your doubt. Basic doubt, otherwise you would have had 9,900 in my mind and given exemption to everybody. Correct. Hostel accommodation by trust. What used to happen is 12 non-12AA entities, madam, you're getting exemption for two people. One is Pandit, which is continuing. Second is for a trust who is not registered under 12AA. They were also getting exemption if their room rent was less than 999. But now they have removed it. So if there is a trust or any company or any organization which is not registered under 12AA, or 12AB, they will have to pay GST on any value. Say if they are charging 500 rupees and they are not registered under 12AA, they have to pay GST. But if it is charging 500 and registered under 12AA, it will be exempted. So that's the difference. Clear? This is done. Next, training or coaching services. So if they're providing a entity which is under 12AA and they're providing coaching services in what? In recreational activities relating to sports, then it is exempted. Okay. There should be a coaching services in what? In sports. Then it is exempted. But training or coaching in recreational activities relating to arts or culture is also exempted by any person, not necessary charitable entities. So two activities can be done by a non-12 AA, still exemption can be got. One is Pandit, and another thing is training in arts or culture. So if you go to any training classes, they're doing any training in arts and cultures, fully exempted. Then last activity is in case of religious pilgrimage services by a KMVNL. What is KMVNL? आपको पता है कि कैलाश मानसरोवर जाते हैं. Then there is a organization called Kumau Mandal Vikas Nigam Limited. So if they are providing services by specifically Kumau Nagar Mandal Vikas Nigam Limited, then it is exempted. दूसरे private वाले जो provide करते हैं, that will be taxable. But this is a government organization that government has given affiliation to them. अगर आप कैलाश मानसरोवर की यात्रा KMVNL के थ्रू करोगे तो KMVNL जो आपको चार्ज करेगा that will be exempted. And second is any pilgrimage provided by a Hajj committee, जैसे मक्का मदीना जाते हैं हज वाले, right? So the Hajj committee arranging these activities for you, it will be exempted. Now only Pandit service is there, correct? Pandit service and this training or coaching in arts and culture. Yeah, the other trust is gone. That is removed. Got it? So that was all on the exemption for charitable or religious activities. So did you mean, so you mean ki individual rehabilitation must be registered under 12 AA? No. Registered individual should not be registered under 12 AA. The entity to whom he is providing, that should be 12 AA. Then his services will be exempted. He should be providing to four people. One is a entity which is registered under 12 AA, or a educational institution, or a medical institution, or a rehabilitation center by the central government. If them he's providing, then it is exempted. If he's providing directly to the patient, then it will be taxable. Great. Any more questions here? Sir, if Kavi Sammelan, they get a poet and he say got any consideration, then if it is registered or not, his income got exempted it for painter too. Now, these Kavi Sammelans are generally not done by the Kavis themselves. They are done by a organization. So if these organizations does any fundraising, then it will be exempted because they will be under 12 AA, then it will be exempted. So they will call it as fundraising activity and they will utilize this funds for the charitable activities. So what they will do is they will tell that we are doing any advancement of religion. So if there are religions, they're saying that we are doing advancement of religions and they will claim the exemption. But according to the strict interpretation of the law, they are not doing any kind of advancement of religion. They're only doing a entertainment activity. So technically, your answer should be, your and my answer will be that it is not a advancement of religion, so it has to be taxable. Good question, Mustafa. So that means if hostel is run by a trust, if registered under 12 AA, only then exempted, otherwise not. Correct, you're right. For poet, he got fees for reading his presentation, that will be taxable. Okay, no more doubts. Can we go to the next exemption? The detail of this are being given here as well. I've given it into writing also. whatever we have discussed is given here, but the chart will give you everything. जो भी यहाँ पे 2-3 स्लाइड में लिखे हैं उसको मैंने वहीं पे कंप्लीट कर दिया है. Yeah. An educational institution can be registered under 12 AA. Yes, it can be. It can be registered under 12 AA. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll take a break here, and we'll come to the next exemption. So we'll take a break of 10 minutes. We'll catch at 7:30 back. Yes, sir. So we can start. Okay, sure. So the questions been asked by Aditi is that, so whether question related to exemption of charitable will be asked directly or given in chart. No, chart is for our understanding. I don't think they've started giving a drawing or picture or any kind of a table format. In the exams, it will be a direct question. Okay, it will be asked directly, no charts or something. It could be like they can give a case study and then they can ask, but nothing like a pictorial thing. Okay. The next exemption is on agriculture services. We know that agriculturist is agriculture activities are exempted under income tax. So in GST also it is kind of exempted. The agriculturist is exempted, but here, as I had said, the exemption on goods is not covered for your syllabus. So only services will decide, right? So you'll have to kind of restrict it. You should not be kind of having doubts saying that whether fruits are exempted, vegetables are exempt because they are goods. That exemption will be there under the exemption for goods notification, which is not there for you. So services in agriculture, what all services which can get involved is what we are trying to see. Okay. Now, basic requirement is agriculture is itself a basic requirement. So generally, all agriculture produce fruits, vegetables will be exempted. Now, registration requirements, the person who is an agriculturist, he is not required to take registration because he's doing only agriculture activities. If he's selling anything, okay, of the produce out of the his cultivation, the agriculturist will do what? He'll do cultivation of fruits and crops. So if he sells that, it is exempted. So agriculturist, if he is doing anything, then it will be exempted. No registration is also required. But if he does anything other than selling, right? Like he has a land, he's doing cultivation, fine. Some other land he has, which is not cultivating, he is creating shed and selling it off. He's renting it off. Then it will be taxable. So it's not just the agriculturist, but the activities what an agriculturist does, that is also important. Anything which is producing will be definitely exempted. Anything which is not producing, he's doing some kind of a other services, then that will be taxable. Okay. Services of renting of vacant land with or without structure or renting of agro machinery, that is also exempted. So if he's renting out the vacant land, so I said specifically sheds, which is kind of taxable because he's doing warehousing services, he's doing loading, unloading, all of that thing, that will be taxable. But if he's just renting out vacant land with or without structure, some small structures is there, then it will be exempted itself. Okay. Or renting of agricultural machinery, even then it will be exempted. So renting of vacant land and renting of agricultural machinery, these are all exempted. Okay. Now, when they say with or without structure, which means there is a agricultural land and there is a place where he is storing his grains. So that structure is not like a warehouse. So it is for storing of the grains, for taking rest, for storing water and things like that. Such structure will be will be considered as a exempted. So मतलब जो भी land है, land के बीच में कुछ जगह है, right? So you have to distinguish a warehouse and a structure. So structure which is incidental for the use of agriculture है, then it will be exempted. If it is not incidental for the use, it is like a go down, then that will be taxable. Okay. So agriculture is exempted and any services relating to, so two things. One is renting of vacant land is exempted, renting of agriculture machinery is exempted, and then third is services relating to cultivation of plants rearing of life form of animals except horses for what? For food, fiber, fuel, raw materials. So this is the basic major thing that any kind of activity, any kind of services relating to cultivation of plants or rearing of life form of animals except horses for food, fiber and raw materials के लिए जो भी वो cultivation करता है, that is all exempted. And when we say all kind of plants and rearing of life forms, here there is a reference of things which is pisciculture, which means breeding of fish, sericulture, which means rearing of silk forms, floriculture's cultivation of ornamental flowers. This is also covered within the definition of agriculture. Okay, so it is not only plants and fruits or things, any life forms of animals except horse. Horse raising को आप exemption में नहीं लोगे other than any other animals which you rear. Sheep, goat, any domestic animal which you're rearing. Horse is also a domestic animal, but horse you will not use it for cultivation or you will not use it for any kind of a thing. You will only use it for horse racing, right? So that's why horses are outside. All other animals are exempted. And specifically these things, breeding of fish, rearing of silkworms and floriculture is exempted. ठीक है. So agro-machinery we understood. Then what are the agriculture operations which are exempted? Cultivation, harvesting, threshing, plant protection, and testing. All of this are covered under the agricultural operations. So these agricultural operations are exempted. Cultivation जो उपजाऊ पेड़ उगाता है, हार्वेस्ट करते हैं, थ्रेशिंग करते हैं, जो फार्म में होता है कि हार्वेस्ट करने के बाद उसको अलग अलग करना पड़ता है, उसे कहते हैं थ्रेशिंग. प्लांट प्रोटेक्शन एंड टेस्टिंग, दीज एक्टिविटीज आर एग्जेम्प्टेड. सो either the agriculturist does it or he does it on behalf of somebody else, all of these activities are exempted. ठीक है. Then supply of farm labor, जैसे I have lot of farm labor and they are sitting idle. I have labor with me, another farmer needs the farm labor, that labor I'm supplying, that is also exempted. So agriculture basically it should not be costly. That's why there are a lot of exemption which is directly and indirectly related to agriculture produce. Yeah, here we are. Agricultural operations. Okay. What about horticultural activities covered? Yes, that is also covered. Because we have said, no, horticultural activities are part of agricultural activities itself. So that is also covered. So when we say this third part, 1 minute, let me kind of unzoom this. When we say floriculture, which means cultivation of ornamental plants, so that is also covered. Sir, when such services are exempted or asked in ITC calculation, we will think from the point of recipient. Correct. Because ITC is always to a recipient, so you will think from the perspective of a recipient. Okay. So agriculture operations, this is clear. Supply of farm labor is also exempted. Then the process carried on at agriculture farm, which is cutting, harvesting, sorting, or grading. All of these activities which is done at the farmland, but these activities should not result in a new characteristics. These does not alter the essential characteristics, but make it marketable for primary market. Okay, so it will make them marketable for the primary market. They are all exempted. Okay, so such activities which is carried out at the farm level, right, they are all exempted. What is primary market and secondary market? This is very important because they've said that which does not alter the essential characteristics but makes it marketable for the primary market. What is this primary market? The primary market means हम जब मार्केट जाते हैं वो प्राइमरी मार्केट है नहीं. A farmer produces something, he brings it to the main mandi or called as APMC yard, right? From there, it will go to the mills, it will go to the factories, or it will go for further processing, then coming to our markets. So our market is not a primary market, that's a secondary market because we are the end consumers who are buying it. But where the farmer goes and sells it, right? Primary market. So up to that place, if he is doing any kind of these activities, that is exempted from the primary market. When it goes to mills like rice mills, it goes to other factories, it goes to tea manufacturing factories, coffee manufacturing factories. That is all taxable, but the activities which is does not alter the essential characters but make it marketable is all exempted. This you have to clearly understand. क्योंकि जब हम लगता है कि ये एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस है, इट इज नॉट एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस, राइट, डायरेक्ट फ्रॉम द फार्मर्स. जैसे आप गिव एन एग्जांपल ऑफ कॉफी बीन्स. जो आप कॉफी पीते हो, यू गेट अ कॉफी पाउडर, से यू गॉट इट अ कॉफी पाउडर. इज इट अ process carried out at agriculture farm or no? Anubhav is saying no. Yeah. Yes. Everybody is given a correct answer that it is. Oh, Shamli is saying yes. No. Navneet is saying yes. Nahi. The answer is no because the coffee powder what we get is carried out through various processes. First, if you see on a hill station like the Chikmagalur or Kerala, you will see lot of coffee and tea plantations there. वहां पे क्या होता है that the plants are planted and there will be localites who will select the leaves. For tea, they will select the leaves. They will just put it in the back, and those leaves are coming to the primary market. So, up till that, it is a process of cutting, harvesting that is exempted because plucking up and coming to the primary market. After that, the tea leaves are there, no? They are dried. They're put into machinery, they are shredded. Then a process is carried out wherein that tea is leaves are getting converted to tea powders. Similarly, coffee beans are plugged in. After that, they are cut it and they are seeds within that coffee beans. From that coffee beans, they will go to the factory. They will kind of grind it. After grind it, they will mix other products and then the coffee comes. So the coffee is not a direct agriculture produce. It is going through various processes. Similarly, tea is going through processes, so they are not agriculture produce. If a farmer sells agriculture products directly to some traders and not in mandi, it will be considered exempt. Yes, still it will be considered as an exempt supply. Great. So we understood that process carried out at agriculture farm itself is exempted. Any activity carried beyond that will be taxable. Next, warehousing. Fumigation in a warehouse of agriculture produce. What is fumigation? You have kind of kind of bacterias, kind of lice, kind of insects coming in a warehouse. Once a agriculture produce is produced, then you will have to put it under some condition for that to get ripe, like dry mangoes. When mangoes are plucked, it is ripe. It is unripe, right? It is green in color. Then it has to be ripe. So you'll keep it in a warehouse. But if you keep it in a warehouse, some insects will come, some rats will come, some rodents will come, right? To avoid that, they have to put some gases. That is called fumigation. Okay. So when you do this fumigation, this was exempted. But now this is not exempted. That's why I put it in red color, that any kind of fumigation will be taxable now. So fumigation in a warehouse is no more exempted. It is now taxable. Okay. So gas, you can expect some question from this. Last 2, 3 years, this amendment has happened and they've said fumigation was exempted earlier. Now it is taxable. Okay. Then warehousing of minor forest produce. So warehousing of specific goods will be exempted. Warehousing of minor forest produce, that is tamarind, bamboo, etc. Okay. Because agriculture produce warehousing will be exempted, because here it says warehousing of agriculture produce, but warehousing of minor forest produce like tamarind, bamboo, it is not grown. It is not cultivated. It is grown automatically in trees. You will cut it and grit. That's why they are called as minor forest produce. So warehousing of such minor forest produce, warehousing of agriculture produce and rice. So why do you think that there is a distinction between agriculture produce and rice? Rice is a agriculture produce only. Then why they are given specific exemption separately for rice? चावल जो हम खाते हैं, इट्स एन एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस, नो? तो फिर उसको अलग से क्यों मेंशन किया है? Yes, because it goes through processing. So rice mill में जाता है. It is not from farmers. Farmers produce paddy. Paddy is a primary produce. After paddy, whatever process happens, it happens in a rice mill, and whatever activity happens in that rice mill is a secondary produce. So it has to be exempted also. Yes, rice is a main food product for many people. So इसीलिए specifically rice को वहां पे लिख दिया गया है. So it is not agriculture produce, but to give exemption to that, they have specified it here. Yes, processed paddy is rice. Rice is a thing, and processed it changes. Okay. Then warehousing of what all things are exempted: warehousing of minor forest produce, warehousing of agriculture produce, and warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits. Nuts was there, now it is gone. Warehousing of cereals, pulses, fruits, and vegetables. So nuts is gone, spices, copra, sugarcane, jaggery, these were all there initially. It is no more there. So what is not there also we have to remember, so that if there's any googly question in the exam, we will be confident in answering it. Okay. So warehousing of these things are exempted. Next, any markets. So agricultural will sell his goods in the market. So market में कौन सा है? That primary market, what I said, which is called as Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee. Every district, every state, every region will have a Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee. So whatever farmers produce, they will market it at the APMC yards. So any services provided by this APMC yard, जैसे वो agriculturist को वहां पे बुलाते हैं and they charge some market fees. So that is exempted. Okay. So APMC services are exempted. A commission agent working in that APMC yard. Okay. A commission agent who will connect the farmer with the buyer. Okay, that service is also exempted because commission agent can get many buyers. That's why the commission agent, when he's charging his commission, that is also exempted. What for? What for? Any sale or purchase of agriculture produce. So other commission, whatever is charges, that will be taxable, but the sale or purchase of agriculture produce will be exempted. Okay, so the market, APMC, and the commission agent will be exempted. Then loading and unloading or packaging of agriculture produce and rice will be exempted, and transportation of agriculture produce by road, which is a through a goods transport agency or through railways or vessels, that will also be exempted. Okay. What else is exempted is agriculture extension services. What is this agriculture extension services? Any kind of training or any kind of melas. This, sorry, please mind my handwriting. Training, melas, Kisan clubs, application of scientific knowledge to agriculture practice. These are all things which is called as agriculture extension services. This will be exempted. Then artificial insemination. Jesse, cow has to get cultivated, so you'll do a hybridation, which is called as artificial insemination. That is also exempted. All livestock will be exempted. Again, here, other than horses, everything will be exempted. So what is taxable? Any process which alters the essential character of agriculture produce. Just say potato is exempted. When you make a potato chips, it will be taxable. Tomato is exempted. Tomato made into puree, made into ketchup, made into sauce will be taxable. The process which makes the agriculture produce marketable in retail market. If it is in primary market, it will be exempted. If it's for a retail market, it will be taxable. Just a pineapple, they will pluck it and put it in a coir bag. So that is to sell it. So it will not be called as packaging because you cannot carry these pineapples in this loose format. So that packing will be exempted. But when you do some activity of, say, drying of pineapple or tinning, that you will put it in sugar tins, sugar soaked water tins, then that is taxable activity. So that's a for a retail to last it for longer duration, that will be taxable. For a primary market, any activity you do will be exempted. Tea from tree leaves is taxable. Whether drone services provided to agricultural land is exempted? No, it is taxable because such exemptions are not there, right? Wheat flour is exempted like rice. No, wheat flour will be taxable. जो आशीर्वाद आटा सब हम लेते हैं, that is taxable. Good. Any more questions? Boring well inside farm. Uh, Boring well, right. It is taxable itself, no exemption for that. This chart is required? Sure. I will, at the end of the chapter, upload it. You can refer it. Correct. Primary activity will be loading in agriculture produce in crates. Yes, that is also a primary activity. Packaging, bundling it, all of that is a primary activity. So if agriculture activities we have understood, I have few questions here before we move on to next exemption. Yes, yes, you will have to remember exemption is a lengthier chapter. If you read it once, I think you will get it. Once you have clarity, then you'll be able to process it. Yeah, how do we get an exemption for this chapter? So there'll be like a person is performing these activities. So, and they will tell the values what he is getting for those activities and tell me what is taxable. That will be the type of question. So you will mention the each of these activities and tell it is exempted or it is taxable. That is how generally questions are coming from this chapter. Yeah, agriculture products insurance, they are exempted. Yes, those will be exempted. When we cover insurance services, Mr. Linga, you'll get it. Yeah, agriculture related services, this we have discussed. All of this is here. Yeah, those questions basically fruits is a agriculture produce, but dried or processed food is a non-agriculture produce. Pineapple is a agriculture produce. Thin pineapple, non-agriculture produce. Tea leaves, as I discussed clearly, tea leaves is a agriculture produce, but the tea or the tea powder will be a non-agriculture produce. So whatever is agriculture produce will be exempted and non-agriculture produce will be taxable. So this will be exempted and this will be taxable. Coffee beans and processed. Sugarcane is kind of primary produce. From the sugarcane, sugar is made and jaggery is produced. That's a non-agriculture produce. Similarly, very important, whole pulses. Jaise whole gram pulses, whole pulses is a agriculture produce. But when they go to factory and they are split or they are dehusked, okay, they will be dehusked and it will be split. Jaise dal hai, green dal you get. The whole one is agriculture produce, but when it is split, chilka dal, what you call, or when you cut it into half, right? That's a non-agriculture produce. Again, paddy is agriculture produce. Rice is a non-agriculture produce. Yeah, mostly case scenario type questions you will get in this. Taxable for new slab rate or old slab rate. There's no slabs as such, Aditya. Under GST, you have various rates, but depends on the which attempt you're writing, the old rate or the new rate will be applicable. We will have to see services attached to this. Right. We are seeing the services attached to this itself, right? Abhilasha, Ashlisha. Milk and milk produce is exempted under goods because milk is a goods. So under goods that will be exempted. Poultry and dairy activities, yes, they are also exempted because they are covered under agricultural services. For May 2026, I think the current books itself will appear. So whatever changes that they will give, you will get a statutory updates. So you can proceed with buying the books, not have to worry for it. Yeah, schedule number and section number, it is not required to be mentioned. At this level, they don't expect you to mention that. Sure. Okay. So the next exemption, yeah, this we have understood. Next exemption is very interesting is educational services. So first we understood charitable organizations, second agriculture activities. Now the third exemption is educational services. Educational services, when you go to school, colleges, CA institute, do you pay any GST? Do you, what has been your experience? Where have you paid GST in terms of educational services? We don't pay, right? On books, we pay, yes, because it's not a service, it's a goods. So there you're paying it. In IIM, for some course is paid. Okay. Which course is it? Because IIM is also an educational institution. Post management qualification. Yeah. So any post management qualification, it will be taxable because it is not a uh, educational qualification recognized by law, right? So we'll see that, Kuldeep, that why it was taxable. No GST paid for educational services, right? So normally educational services will all be exempted because you cannot burden the people with extra tax, right? So it will not be taxable, but otherwise it will all be uh, taxable. So educational services, what is educational services? We will understand. Then we will see whether it is exempted or no. Hmm. Mustafa is saying, I don't get any GST when materials. So what they're doing in case of C Institute is in the course charges itself, they are collecting the books charges and certain books are exempted. That's why there is no GST on that. Okay. So in educational services, what we'll see is services, educational services which are exempt will be those services which is received by educational institution and which is provided. So till now, what we have seen is a charitable organization providing services, they are exempted. But any services provided to a charitable organization that will be taxable, like a chartered accountant providing services to a 12AA entity. They will have to charge GST because they are not getting any exemptions. The services provided by a charitable organization that is exempted. Services provided by a consultant or any third party to a charitable organizations that will be taxable, right? But in educational, you'll see that very important here, it is very interesting here that services provided by a educational institution, services provided by a educational institution is exempted because they are providing services to students and things. So this is only one part. So any services we are providing to the students or any conduct of entrance examination. So two things will be exempted for the educational institution. They are providing educational services to its students or faculty or staff, or conduct of any entrance examination is exempted, right? That is one side. But any services what they are providing, on that also they should not pay GST and burden themselves. So we have this bigger limp, which is services received by educational institution will also be exempted. What are these? These are transportation of students, faculty, and staff. Okay. And so any transportation, bus services for taking the children, dropping to the school, school to house, for the students, faculty, and staff. Students, teacher, and staff. In तीनों के लिए all transportation is exempted. So this is services provided to an educational institution. Okay. So this transporter, this bus agent or the bus company. Okay. Generally, there could be two things. Either the buses are owned by the school itself or they are giving it to an agency. So this bus agency, if it's an agency, they will charge something to the school on a monthly basis and school will collect from the students. So when they transportation company charges to the school, they will not charge GST because this is clearly exempted. Then Catering services. Catering services provided for the students, including any midday meal scheme sponsored by the government. All of this will be exempted. So any catering services, including midday meals, suppose a school provides foods to its students. Now it will not prepare food. It will tell a caterer to prepare the food and get it. So this caterer will charge something on this. Generally, restaurant services, we will charge 5%. But this caterer should not charge any GST because he's providing to a school. Okay. Then security and cleaning or housekeeping services. स्कूल को क्लीन रखना है तो सिक्योरिटी सर्विस चाहिए फॉर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द स्कूल. Security agencies will be there, and for cleaning, either the school itself does it or gives it to a housekeeping service agency. So when they provide these services, it is still exempted. So these three are exempted. For whom? Schools can be of two kinds. Education services can be of various kinds. Preschool, that is preschool and higher secondary school. Okay, it can be for preschool and higher secondary school, which means preschool is before they get into kindergartens. Before that, all that are called preschool, and HSC is higher secondary school, starting from your lower kindergarten, first standard till 10th standard. So for these two category of schools, these three services, when they are receiving, it is exempted. Second is services relating to admission of school institution or conduct of examination. So admission services. Lot of people now apply for admission to schools and colleges. They will be a agency or some specialized body who will tell that you don't worry about this, we will take care of it. So they will undertake the admission, give the application forms, take the admission, scrutinize it, and give the final list of students to the school. Okay, such services relating to admission of such institution are also exempted to everybody, to all educational institutions, including schools, schools, higher secondary schools, above higher secondary schools, educational colleges, everybody. Okay, then supply of online educational journals or periodicals. Nowadays, lot of online journals and periodicals are there, which schools subscribe to so that their students can utilize it. So such exemption will not be available to schools. It will be available only to institutions beyond higher secondary school. Higher HSC is higher secondary school. Okay, so up to HSC it will be taxable. Beyond that, जैसे colleges है, अपना institute है, if they are subscribing to some journals, online journals and online periodicals, it will be exempted for them. Got it? Hostel food are exempt or taxable? Good question. So, what we have said, services provided by educational institutions. What services? Educational services. So is hostel providing educational services or stay and food? The primary object of hostel is stay. So here the exemption is educational services. So primary objective is stay and food. But can you give stay and food to an outsider who's not a student? No, right? You have to be enrolling, you have to get admission as a student. Only then you can get entitled to the hostel. So you would have read or understood the concept when you're reading supply. There is a concept called a composite supply. So education and the hostel is a composite supply, and the primary service is education. So when you provide education and then you provide hostel facilities to such students, right? So when the primary service is exempted, then the secondary service also will be exempted. So when the education is exempted, then the hostel and the hostel providing food also will be exempted. Got it? So hostel will not be taxable and stay will not be taxable. Food will not be taxable. Since the primary education is exempted, all other things also will be exempted. Student edition is also anything which is related to student edition like newspaper is exempted. No, nothing of such is exempted. Only these things what we have stated is exempted. Educational institution also register or not required. Registered under GST. If they're providing only exempted services, right, then not required. What is taxable, we'll come to it now. But if they're providing purely exempted services, registration not required. So then this transportation, catering, security services are all composite services. Correct. So when a school you go, in the admission, in the fees itself, they'll charge everything. Catering, transportation. So school will not charge anything to us. They will not charge GST on it. Correct. So transportation, catering, they will not charge security services. They will pay to him, but they will charge for transportation and say food separately. Then all of that will be exempted itself. Educational services needs to get registered themselves. Then only these clauses are eligible. No, no. So registration provision says that if you're providing purely exempt services, then you don't have to register. Jैसे a school which is doing only exempted services, say they don't have to register. ऐसा नहीं है मेधा कि they have to register when they will, then only they'll get exemptions. If their services are exempted, they don't have to register at all. Free education, book, dress, and food provided by government of Karnataka is exempted. So the term itself is free. So if it is free, then where is the question of tax? Educational institution gives teachers their fees. Is it exempted? They give teachers their salary. So salary, when a non-educational institution also provides, it is always exempted. Schedule 3, right? Schedule 3 services provided by the employee to their employer is exempted. So when the teacher gets the fees, that is also exempted. Private coaching classes are taxable? Yes. Private coaching classes are always taxable. Only these. Now, what is educational institution? We'll understand the definition. Educational institution means, then your queries will get resolved. Educational institution means an institution providing services by way of preschool education and education by higher secondary school or equivalent, education as a part of curriculum for obtaining a qualification recognized by any law, or education as a part of approved vocation educational course. This is a meaning of educational institution. So educational institution means an institution which is providing services by way of preschool education and education up to higher secondary school. And beyond that, if any other organization is providing education like a college or CA Institute, if they are providing any qualification which is recognized by law, then only it is treated as an educational institution. When you go to private tuitions, private coachings, They are not giving you any qualification. They are assisting you, but they are not giving you any qualification. So they are not educational institutions. So it will be taxable. Then third is education, which is part of an approved vocational educational course. Now, what is an approved educational vocation course? A course which is run by industrial training institutes, famously called as ITI, or a industrial training center, which is affiliated to the National Council for Vocational Training or State Council for Vocational Training, and they are giving some skills, just say carpentry, plumbing, drawing, designing, tailoring, such training they give, which is recognized by the Apprenticeship Act, then such activities will also be treated as an educational institution and they'll get exempted. So that is the meaning of educational institution. CA and CMS fall under two, yes, because why are you enrolling with the CA Institute? To get a degree. That degree is called CA degree and it is recognized by the Constitution of India. So it is recognized by the law. So that's why it is exempted. So because the school is only providing educational services, did not register under GST. You're right. Online competitive exams. So if you do any online competitive exams, will you get any degree? Getting a certificate of recognition is different. Certificate of recognition will not give you any, it's not a kind of a qualification which is recognized by law. Certificate of participation is not sufficient. If they give you any qualification which is recognized by the law, by the Indian Education Board, then it will be exempted. Like you have a lot of Udemy classes, right? That is all taxable itself. Scholarship. Scholarship, how can it be taxable or exempted? Scholarship is whatever fees you have to pay, they give a reduction from that. So on the net amount, it will be taxable. Definition of degree also matters, correct? What degree you will get. So it should be recognized by the law. Which law? Indian law. So if you have a course, because nowadays you see colleges will give you an Indian degree and they say we are affiliated with ACCA, so you will give you training for both and you will get a ACCA degree also, or you will get the ACCA certificate also. So that will be taxable. This will be exempted because when they say a qualification recognized by any law, which means it means that it should be recognized by the Indian law only. Some other aspects in this is so we were discussing on educational institution, we got to know, right? So now your question on private coaching will be taxable. On other main colleges providing recognition by law will be exempted. Okay. Conduct of degree course by colleges, universities, or institution is covered. So these courses lead to qualification. So it is exempted. Training given by private coaching institution is not exempted because such training does not lead to grant of any recognized qualification. Then education as a part of prescribed curriculum for obtaining a qualification recognized by law of a foreign country. Like I gave an example, ACCA, right? That will not be exempted because only a course recognized the Indian law is covered. So this is educational institution definition. Right. Now, the exemption, what we saw there is given you in a different manner where educational institution providing preschool and education up to higher secondary school, they will get exemption for four services: transportation, catering, security cleaning, and services related to admission. So, educational institution providing education as part of curriculum, that is, other than school, colleges, and other institution, they will get two exemptions: services relating to exemption and supply of online journals. Then third category of educational institution, because there are three categories of educational institution. Third category is educational institution providing education as a part of approved vocational education course, right? They will get exemption for only services relating to admission. Okay, these are all input services. Output services, that is services which they provide, is all exempted. But services what they get, on that 4 to 1 services only will be exempted. Clear till here? Awesome. Getting prize money through participation in online competition is taxable. PM internship training. What is this PM internship training? Prime Minister internship training, huh? Yeah. Entrance exam, conduct of entrance examination by authority. Will it be exempted? This is a clarification which says that any authority board which is set up by the central government or state government, like for getting into engineering, you have to write some entrance examination. Okay. So such entrance examination is done by a board on behalf of all the colleges, right? So they are doing this entrance examination for admission to educational institution. They will also be treated as an educational institution for limited purposes. So that will also be exempted. Therefore, GST will not apply. Then GST is also exempt on input service relating to admission or conduct of examination, such as online testing service, result publication, printing or notification of examination, admit card. All of that will be exempted. But GST is applicable to other services provided by the boards, namely the board. Okay, they provide accreditation to certain colleges. They will come and check the quality and provide accreditation services. So that will be taxable. Food services, if it is to students through a hostel, it is exempted. But if through a mess or canteen, then it is exempted when to provide catering services. But they have just a kind of a canteen in the school, that will be taxable. Supply of food in Anganwadis and school, it is still midday meal program, it is exempted. Other services, boarding schools, as we had said, exempted. Dual qualification, it becomes a mixed supply. IIM, like somebody was saying, IIM, they're taxable. IIM, if you're getting a master's degree, that will be exempted. But if you're getting post graduation, your graduation is over, they're conducting some post graduation thing for which you're getting only a participation certificate, then it will be taxable. Central or state boards conducting of examination, it is exempted. Central or state boards providing accreditation is taxable. Fees charged from prospective employers. After college is over, they'll give placement. So companies will come, from the companies, they will collect the placement charges. That is taxable. Entrance fees is exempted. Eligibility certificate is exempted. Transfer certificate is again exemption, because TC, you have to, after you finish your college or school, you have to get a TC from that. That TC is exempted because it is part of the educational stuff. Since you have studied there, you're getting it. Then maritime course approved by DG of shipping, that is also exempted. New exemption which has been added is service of affiliation services, saying that any school which is formed, they have to get the affiliation from the state board or center board. Okay, that is also exempted. Affiliation to government schools are exempted. However, service affiliation to private schools are taxable. Okay, so this affiliation provided by the educational board, this is very important thing. They have given that the affiliation to government schools only are exempted, but affiliation to private schools will be taxable. So that board who is providing that affiliation, they will charge the GST. Government of India PM internship training. Okay. So are you getting any? kind of recognition by law. It's just a training. If it's just a training, then it will be taxable. UPSC, yes, UPSC is a good example. EM internship is by Government of India for graduates. Okay, so it's like a kind of sponsorship. So that is all on educational services. Okay. So what I will request you is go through the study material on whatever you have covered on three services. Start with exemption basic, understand the charitable activities, understand the agriculture services, and understand the educational institution services. So if you just brush through today or tomorrow, I would suggest you do it today, just 45 minutes to 50 minutes. If you brush through this, whatever we have discussed will stay with you for a long duration because just now you have heard something, right? And if you read through it, you'll try to connect it. Just keep your mobiles away, keep all the distractions away, read through it so that any queries you have, you can ask in the in the next class, which will be on Saturday, and we will take up the next exemption services. Thank you, Kuldeep. Happy Teachers Day. Thank you so much. Thank you, Linga. Very nice, Shamli. Uh, Good that you have enjoyed my session for today. So it gives a good boost to start the session. Yes, all our sessions will keep it more interactive. I will request you to please be interactive because nobody spoke during the class. So I would encourage you to please talk. Nothing will happen. Nobody will laugh. Everybody is online. Don't worry. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for it. Great that just before the Teachers' Day, we are meeting each other. Yes, perfect, Mustafa. Please go through the chapters. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind wishes. I'm very happy that I started this session just before the Teachers' Day. Thank you. The session was really useful, resourceful. Very nice. Very nice. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Prerna. Thank you, everyone. So many names. Really thankful to you all for staying from the beginning till the end of the session. Thank you. Yes, sir.